From ancient scrolls to modern classics, welcome to Whispers of Japanese Tales.
The Spider's Thread by Ryunosuke Akutagawa. One day, the Buddha, Shakyamuni, was strolling alone around the edge of the lotus pond in paradise. The lotus flowers blooming in the pond were all as white as jewels, and from the golden stamens in the center of each flower, a fragrance, indescribably pleasant, constantly overflowed into the surrounding air. It was just the morning in paradise. After a while, the Buddha stopped by the edge of the pond, and, from between the lotus leaves covering the water's surface, he glanced down below. The bottom of this paradise lotus pond coincided exactly with the depths of hell. Through the crystal-clear water, the scenes of the Sanzu River and the Needle Mountain could be seen clearly, as if looking through a pair of spectacles. Then, at the bottom of hell, the Buddha's eyes were drawn to a man named Kanda, who was writhing along with other sinners. This Kanda was a notorious bandit who had committed various evil deeds, such as killing people and setting houses on fire. However, there was one thing he had done that could be considered good. One day, as this man was passing through a deep forest, he saw a small spider crawling along the side of the path. Kanda immediately raised his foot to crush it, but then he thought, no, this too is a living being, though small. Taking its life carelessly would be too cruel. He suddenly reconsidered and, in the end, spared the spider and let it go. As the Buddha looked at the scenes of hell, he remembered that Kanda had once saved a spider. With that good deed in mind, he thought, if possible, I should save this man from hell as a reward for that act of kindness. By chance, he noticed a spider on a lotus leaf, its color like jade, weaving a beautiful silver thread. The Buddha gently took the thread in his hand and, from among the white lotus flowers, lowered it straight down to the depths of hell. Here, at the bottom of hell, in the blood-filled pool, Kanda was floating and sinking along with other sinners. No matter where he looked, it was pitch dark, and occasionally, something would emerge faintly from the darkness, only to reveal the terrifying needles of the Needle Mountain glimmering. The sense of helplessness was overwhelming. Moreover, the surroundings were eerily silent, like being in a grave, and the only sound that could be heard now and then was the faint sighs of the sinners. The people who had fallen into this place must have been so exhausted by the various tortures of hell that they no longer had the strength to even cry out. Even Kanda, the notorious bandit, was choking on the blood of the pool, gasping like a frog on the brink of death, only struggling in vain. Then, one day, casually, Kanda raised his head and looked up at the sky above the blood pool. In the quiet darkness, a silver spider's thread descended from far, far above, as if fearing to be seen, shining faintly and slowly lowering toward him. Upon seeing this, Kanda couldn't help but clap his hands in joy. If I cling to this thread and climb up, I'm sure I can escape from hell, Kanda thought. No. If all goes well, I might even reach paradise. In that case, I will never again be chased up the Needle Mountain, nor will I be submerged in the blood pool. With this thought in mind, Kanda immediately grasped the spider's thread with both hands and began to climb up with all his might. As a notorious bandit, he was, after all, used to such actions. However, the distance between hell and paradise was vast, stretching for countless miles. No matter how much he hurried, it was not easy to ascend. After climbing for a while, Kanda became exhausted and could no longer climb any higher. With no other option, he decided to take a rest, hanging from the middle of the thread while gazing down below. To his relief, his efforts had been worthwhile. The blood pool, where he had been just moments ago, was now hidden deep in the darkness below, out of sight. Then, the terrifying Needle Mountain, which had been faintly glowing, was now beneath his feet. At this rate, it seemed that escaping hell might not be so difficult after all. Kanda, gripping the spider's thread with both hands, let out a laugh, a sound he hadn't made in the many years since arriving here, and said, "Got it, got it." However, as he looked down, Kanda suddenly realized that countless other sinners were following him up the thread, climbing just as eagerly as ants in a line. Seeing this, he was both startled and frightened. For a moment, he stood there with his mouth wide open in disbelief, his eyes darting around, unable to move. Kanda, seeing this, was filled with both surprise and fear. For a moment, he stood there, with his mouth wide open like a fool, his eyes moving frantically. How could this thin spider's thread, which seemed fragile enough to break under his own weight, possibly bear the weight of so many people? If, by chance, it snapped along the way, he, who had worked so hard to climb this far, would fall back into the depths of hell. Such an outcome would be disastrous. Nevertheless, amidst this, countless sinners, hundreds and thousands of them, were crawling up from the dark depths of the blood pool. In a long line, they climbed diligently, following the faintly glowing spider's thread. If something didn't happen soon, the thread would surely snap in the middle, and they would all fall. In that moment, Kanda shouted loudly, "Hey, sinners! This spider's thread is mine. Who gave you permission to climb up? Go down! Go down!" At that very instant, the spider's thread, which had been perfectly fine until then, suddenly snapped with a sharp sound right where Kanda was hanging. Thus, Kanda could not escape. In the blink of an eye, he was spinning like a top, slicing through the air, and in an instant, he fell headlong into the depths of darkness. Behind him, only the spider's thread remained, shimmering faintly as it hung short in the middle of the sky, with no moon or stars to be seen. The Buddha stood at the edge of the lotus pond in paradise, watching the entire sequence of events unfold. When Kanda sank like a stone to the bottom of the blood pool, the Buddha's face showed a look of sorrow, and he began to stroll once again. The Buddha likely saw Kanda's selfish desire to escape hell, and the appropriate punishment he received for his heartlessness, as a sad and regrettable outcome. However, the lotus flowers in the paradise pond were completely unconcerned by such matters. The jewel-like white flowers swayed gently around the Buddha's feet, their petals moving, and from the golden stamens in the center of each flower, a fragrance, indescribably pleasant, constantly overflowed into the surrounding air. It seemed that paradise was nearing midday.
Until we meet again, may the stories of Japan inspire your days. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales.